change it to the slideshow mode?
Yes, I
The
will.
slides.
After I will, the moment I'll start talking, I'll change it to the full.
Okay, cool.
It's just at the moment it's full screen. I can't see anything else on my end.
Understood.
The goldfinches have joined us.
Okay. Hold on, guys. Okay. We're going live now. Hold on. Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to our planning meeting at Antinanco Earth Art School. We're very happy to be here today, and we will be talking about trees in danger and positive solutions for that problem. And I would like to open our meeting with by inviting Olga to Olga Sher, the managing director of Antinanco Earth Art School, to kick it off. Ola, over to you.
Thank you, Mariana. Hi, friends. It's a pleasure having all of you here. Why are we talking trees today? It's been such an important topic for a long, long time. It's just that we're seeing trees being destroyed at an alarming rate nowadays, and we're seeing a lot of it in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. We're pushing through forests to gain land for commercial purposes, making sacrifices for the sake of profits. So as an organization that provides education beyond the classroom walls and teaches kids to live responsibly and with respect to all relations, we thought that by having access to a student body, we have this opportunity, to take everything one step further, because students are really where the power of the future is, and we can get the messages across to them. So by opening up our planning meeting to the public and inviting all of you to be here with us, I think we are making a really, really important step in the right direction, because one small step by us, which is observed and joined by you, will lead to many giant leaps towards really solid global measures where we all will actually have a good solid standing to advocate on behalf of the nature. So welcome everyone. We're very grateful that you're participating today with us. And we have two wonderful panelists here with us today, Akinyele Karate and Joe Raish, and both of them have lots of wisdom and knowledge to share on the topic. But this is not just them speaking. We also invite all of you to offer your input. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask at any time. We really, really appreciate all of your efforts and time. Thank you. Akinyele, welcome. I will open the floor to you now. And we are so happy to have you here with us.
Thank you.
So Akinele, again, thank you for joining us. And I actually have a few questions for you. So you mentioned a few times that in many of our meetings and occasions where we met before, you mentioned a few times that trees are the longest living species on our planet. And I wanted to ask you, what makes trees so important for us?
Okay, so let's start out by simply being clear on exactly why trees are so significant to us outside of let's say, animals, birds, so on and so forth. Most people think that trees make air, okay, or produce air. Trees don't. What trees do is they filter out air. They filter the air. They change it from one thing to another, okay? So the carbon dioxide is changed into oxygen. The water, okay, the ocean is what produces air. Okay, so that's the first most important thing that we need to be real clear on. At some point, I'm going to do a movie. I'm going to do like a movie night, and we're going to sit up and watch a movie called Total Recall. And that movie is about living inside a bubble. And most people didn't know that they were exactly what the bubble was or what the deal was with the bubble. And eventually they found out that they were living on Earth, but they were living in a bubble, and that the Earth atmosphere had been totally depleted. And it was devoid of quote unquote trees. So oxygen is the most important, significant to us.
Thank you. This makes a lot of sense, and thank you for clarifying it. And what does that have to do with it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it?
Okay. All right. So first of all, let me just say that my background is, I guess that you're going to say shaman. Okay. I spent a lot of times working with what we call the invisible world. Now, where most people deal with the invisible world on an intangible basis, I deal with it on a tangible basis, meaning that whatever is happening in the invisible world, if it doesn't show up in the real world, then according to how I was taught, it doesn't exist. Okay, now the idea it has to connect with the real world. So here's the most significant part about trees is that at one point I used to spend a lot of time. I lived in Princeton. I spent a lot of time in a park in Princeton, and it's the same park that Einstein used to walk in. And I used to walk in that park when he was a student or a teacher or professor or research professor in Princeton. And after a while, I started to run across information about Einstein. And one of the things that I discovered is that Einstein was very much, first of all, he used to take walks, long walks out in this forest that I was walking in. I didn't know that till later on. And one of his symbols, okay, was a tree, but the tree was turned upside down, okay? Also, there were other people like George Washington Carver and a number of other people that would have symbols of trees, but they all would be turned upside down. So I started to research what that meant. And the bottom line is that most of us think that the connection with trees have to do with what's happening on the surface. Reality is that the connection with trees on a human level has to do with the roots, okay? And that the roots represent our nervous system. So connecting with trees have a lot to do with the roots, the bottom of the tree. So if you take the tree and turn it upside down, what you're literally looking at is the human being anatomy. So the roots have to do with the nervous system, and the branches or the trees have to do, the legs have to do with the branches, and the leaves have to do with the feet. Now, what wound up being super interesting with that is that when I further started to study, when I became initiated as a Yoruba priest, I found out that the Orishas, the spiritual entities, also connected with trees in the same way. So, so that relationship is important because, again, when you're doing spiritual work, the thing that's most important is understanding how those trees relate to the human body. And I can not only show that to you, but also I can show you how that relates to the Orishas, so on and so forth, the spiritual entities, so on and so forth. Is that a significant, is there any questions or that significant answer?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so now that we have a bigger picture about the trees in general and their importance, I wanted to ask Joe, who is a lifelong plant man, and he's been growing plants since he was 5. So who else could be a better person to talk about that? And Joe, I have a few questions that may be more specific to what we're going to be doing during the event. Why is it important to preserve endangered species?
Oh, great question, Mariana. I'm joining you here from my garden right now. But one thing that I've learned through growing plants and observing, what does well and what doesn't, observing nature and seeing a healthy ecosystem and one that is not so healthy, and also reading. I mean, you can find countless articles on the internet if you want to. Biodiversity. You need to preserve biodiversity. What is the biggest protector of biodiversity here? What creates it essentially are the trees, and that's how that ties in here. So a tree, it's going to provide food, it's going to provide shelter, also mitigate, water loss, help keep water on the land and prevent it from running off, hold soil, and just create, a safe place for many different creatures to live on, around, underneath. Most of the life on Earth actually is in the soil. Soil life outnumbers the life on the land. So if you have a tree or something acting, as a guardian there to protect the soil and keep that life going and keep the food and the water and the fresh air available for everything else around it, then you've got a good recipe to have biodiversity in that area. And now a little more on biodiversity. Another key reason why that is important to have is that we could relate it to humans. Like pretend everyone here was, an architect and that was their skill, nothing would really get built. You just have people designing things. Every person has their own skill. Well, also a parallel in nature is that every tree has its own particular contribution, and every creature, every entity that's alive has its own specific contribution. And we might understand it, we might not understand what it is yet. There are many creatures we don't even know exist that we're causing to become extinct every day. And so we need all of these crucial parts for an ecosystem to operate at its utmost, at its best, and for us to not understand it and for us to be destroying that without knowing is just plain ignorant and also destructive for our longevity and for our children's. So
Thank
that's
you.
why.
Yeah, it's a great answer. Thank you so much. And so specifically, why chestnuts? What it is about chestnuts that makes them endangered, and why are you passionate about that?
Okay, so the chestnuts that we'd like to talk about are the American chestnut species. There are quite a few different chestnuts around the world. You might be familiar with the European chestnuts that you can still find in stores sometimes, which are delicious also. But I'm joined right here, I don't know if you can see, but around me are some seedlings that we are going to be planting with Antinanco at the reclamation gathering the weekend before Thanksgiving. And these little fellows are, I want to call them survivors, but they're going to have maybe a bit of an edge to help them survive. The problem with our American chestnuts is that they were wiped out to what is called functional extinction, meaning they can't reproduce on their own in the wild without help. And they've been wiped out to that point because of a mistake that humans made by bringing a blight not indigenous to our continent from Asia over here, and one tree was infected, the spore spread and wiped out the entire population almost. There's still a few survivors that organizations are, breeding and trying to cross with the Chinese chestnut that is blight resistant. But reasons this tree in particular is such an exemplary example of something that will help protect and encourage biodiversity and at the same time help an endangered species. This tree was 1 in 4 trees on the east coast of the United States was an American chestnut, 100, 150 years ago before this blight came through. It was a tree that grew to 100, 120 feet tall easily. The nickname for it is the redwood of the East. They grew so large and massive, and they produced tons, literal tons of nuts, which are the tastiest of all the chestnuts. They have the highest carbohydrates of any nuts, and they're an excellent food source not only for humans, the indigenous people who lived here and, helped plant some of these trees and cared for them and gathered the food from them. Also for squirrels, obviously, bears, turkeys, deer, and even the passenger pigeon, which is extinct now, relied heavily on these trees for food. So if we bring something like this back that was such a big player in our biodiversity in these eastern forests, if we were to bring that back, it would be a huge gift not only to maybe our grandchildren having, a free source of food, just growing plentifully on trees, but also the wildlife that can help come back from that.
Thank you, Joe. This is great, and me personally, I'm so excited about this. Chestnuts is by far my favorite tree. I just have like this personal connection with it. So, if someone were to ask and wanted to help, are there any ways, and how can we all help? Bring it back and preserve it?
Okay, I can think of a few. Um, First, I'll start with the broad stroke answer of how can we help the big picture of, stopping these things from happening, stopping the ecosystems from being destroyed as much as they are right now. Our
Uh-oh. I think we have a frozen moment.
I think we just lost Joe for a second.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I
Hey,
can.
Joe.
Is
Joe?
he?
Yeah, maybe he lost his
Okay.
signal. Those baby chestnut trees look absolutely wonderful, so healthy.
Yes.
Next month, I'm sorry, Kenyally, you wanted to say something and I interrupted. Go
No, no,
ahead.
no, 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 no. It's okay. I thought maybe I could continue to answer that question, but it's okay.
Thank you. Yeah, please. Thank you.
Um, the thing is that we're under the illusion that we're in control, and we're not. That's the thing we're gonna have to remember is that Mother Nature will always find a way, even if she has to get rid of like the dinosaurs. Once the dinosaurs became, you know, big, out of control, then Mother Nature just said, okay, enough is enough. So the thing that we have to remember is that we can become the next endangered species if we aren't careful, because Mother Nature will find a way to evolve. Not so much that we are saving the world as much as we probably saving our own behinds. That's why I
Such a
mentioned
good
that Total
point.
Recall movie. Okay, is that we were trying to sustain ourselves. Okay, Joe, look like you're back, man. Kick it.
I am. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
can see you though.
Oh, okay. Well, I apologize for that. I'll try and give a
Oh, okay. This is good
quick
now.
rest of
This
the
is good
answer.
now, Joe.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, so, um, the broad answer would be to slow down or try to stop the loss of these species, stop our negative contributions in that way. Such things as saving paper, printing less, um, using less wood products when possible, and not contributing to the loss of forested land are big things that we can do. Now, what causes forested land to be cut down these days? Well, of course, money is a driving factor, but that money is coming from the beef industry, soy, palm oil, and wood products are the big four things that if we start to limit those and the money going towards them, the less rainforest is going to be cut down, and the less forested land and the less biodiversity will be um, lost to that. Now, specifically, what can we do in our own backyard, and what can we do um, to help people who are trying to replant and bring back species such as the American chestnut here? One thing would be to get involved with organizations such as the American Chestnut Foundation. They are the ones who have been breeding special trees like this that will help bring back the genetics and make them more resistant for the future generations. And they're doing that by mainly volunteer work and donations to keep them going. And they're planting test fields and orchards of these trees, and they're observing scientifically, and they're selecting for the resistance to this introduced blight. Now, you could also get involved in helping.
I
Ah,
think I think
I think we lost Joe again.
yeah,
His garden is like a jungle, So,
Beautiful farm
he's
in
literally
oh,
dead.
okay.
and we'll be planting 25 of these little buggers at a beautiful farm in Emmaus and observing them and trying to teach and learn and do our part to help bring this species back to a place.
Thank you so much, Joe. This is really awesome. And as you started talking about the event and what we will be doing there, I wanted to turn it over to you, Ola, and ask you if you could go a little bit into more details as to what exactly we will be doing during the event, the reclamation of the Earth rights in November.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So this is happening in November, as Joe mentioned, in Emmaus, Pennsylvania, on a beautiful, beautiful farm. This is our annual event and our fourth celebration, I believe. So this year we're planting this beautiful, this very exact baby trees that Joe just showed us. They are stunning. They look so nice and healthy, and very, very excited and can't wait to just touch them and be a part of that planting. So the whole weekend will be about celebrating, doing very meaningful work, giving thanks, celebrating Thanksgiving. This is the weekend before American Thanksgiving, November 18th, 20th. Mariana, I think we have a slide for that. So if you can put it up so people can see all of the information. We invite everyone to join us. There will be so much happening. We will just, spend our time to be there, to practice living in harmony with nature. Remember how to view natural resources, not just as resources, but our equals. I loved Joe's point that he made earlier. Every living organism, no matter how small, has their own specific purpose here, even if we don't understand sometimes. So it's important to just remember to be respectful to all of that. Also learning how to give and not only take. That will be the gist of it. Planting will be the highlight. We'll be sitting with the trees and observing and journaling, recording our observations. We will also be drumming. Dave Miller is coming with his beautiful drum, so we will have a wonderful drumming circle. We will make bonfires. We'll make bread the way our ancestors made it. We will churn butter, meditate. There will be a lot of stuff happening. Everyone is welcome. Kids are welcome. Sliding scale is available. Write down the information if you'd like to join. And Mariana will also share the links in the chat of this conversation. So hope to see you all soon there, friends. And I don't know if we have any questions. I see we have a few participants here.
Yes, we actually do have one question on which is coming from Facebook, because we're also live on Facebook, and I hope some people are joining us there. And it's from someone who lives in Texas, and she's actually wondering if chestnuts are good for the zone she lives in.
That's a good question. I'm not sure if Joe is still.
For Joe, I think that's what she got very excited when you mentioned the American Chestnut Organization, and she was wondering if these trees are good for Texas.
That is a really good question. I cannot give you a solid yes or no, but I can certainly give you everything I know about where they love to grow. Maybe that fits your zone, because I'm pretty sure Texas is so big it has
North Texas.
growing zones.
North Texas, Joe.
North Texas. That might be a little better. I'm not sure they like a lot of, extreme heat, but they do love to be on a slope if that's possible. They like well-draining soil, so not like a boggy area or saturated clay. If it's slightly acidic, that's actually best for them. The other thing is they're extremely cold hardy, so I don't think we'll have to worry about that in Texas. But I know their natural range, when I looked at the map of it, spanned almost the entire Appalachians down into Georgia. So that might be a similar latitude to where you are in North Texas. I think it might be worth a try. But you may want to check the Chestnut Foundation's website to maybe see if they have a chapter in your state, because they have in many of the state's local chapters and information available on efforts that are taking place in each state there.
Thank you so much, Joe. It doesn't seem like we have any other questions. I posted the links in the chat on both our Zoom part and the Facebook Live. So Ola, if you want to take over.
Sure. So thanks everyone, friends, and please do share with us about your efforts. We would love to learn about your work, and maybe we can all collaborate and exchange notes, because this is so important. And this effort should definitely go beyond just one small community. So we will appreciate your input a lot. And thanks everyone for offering your wisdom. Thank you, Akinyele. Thank you, Joe. This was a wonderful discussion, and I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Peace.
Have a
Thank
great
you
day,
all.
everyone.
So guys.
Peace and blessings.
Yes.
Garden blessings.